Welcome to Laird Wellness Live, guys. Scott Laird, Jody Laird.
Good evening.
New set. It's a different room in our house, okay? That's all it is. Just a different room in the house. Oh, we got a little loud here. See, we're getting a little bit... There we go. Hang on a second.
Got to adjust a few things.
Adjust a few things. We're getting to, yeah. There, that should be better. There, okay. Imperfect, but that's okay. Yeah, so we're in the what was our piano room, which previously was our dining room.
Yes.
And before we were out where my office is, in the, I guess, breakfast area. It's not even really the living room. It's kind of between the living room and the kitchen. But anyway, so we moved everything around because we wanted to make it a little more presentable. Number one, we want to have Shabbat gatherings at our house with our group. So we're doing that.
Yep.
But number two, we have someone coming to live with us.
Yes. So we needed to get him out of the area where we live in because we usually have to be quiet when he's on the phone and stuff. So
yeah, right.
This will be a lot better. He's got his own space.
Yep.
We've got our studio. We'll see how it goes.
And then for our house guest, it won't look so messy, which was Jody's primary concern. So
True. True.
Well, I kind of look at it and go, what's the problem? And then, Jody's like, oh, no. We're not having you out here. We're putting you, in fact, we put me in the dining room here with our studio and everything. And across from us right here are some French doors. And she said, well, we don't even want people to see your papers. So we're just going to so she got this
frosted vinyl
and frosted the whole door so you can't even see in here.
Yep.
So I feel like a leper, but that's okay. So anyhow.
But you got privacy.
Yeah, I do have privacy. Yes, that's good. And it's good that I can be on the phone and our son can play the piano out in the other room and not have to stop because dad's in a meeting.
Or we can run the blender and make our smoothies.
There you go. That too. Yep, that's all good. Now, speaking of smoothies, so we want to bring out something from Life Extension Magazine in March of 22 this year. And it's all about Omega-3s. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because we just got some test results back that we did for our Omega-3 levels. Yep. So we just did that. So we want to show you how you can do that. And we'll have a sample at the end of what our test would have looked like. But it's just a sample test. But anyway, you can see where you are on it's almost like the chronic disease continuum that Dr. Lewis does.
It really is.
It's a scale with green on the left and red on the right, and where are you in the middle and that kind of thing. So it'll tell you where your omega-3 levels are and why does that matter? Why do omega-3s matter so much? So omega-3s, you might think, okay, well, that has something to do with EFAs or essential fatty acids, and I think that's the good fats, and omega-6s are the bad fats. Well, yes, if you assume that, you're right. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail about what that is and where these things come from. Now, from the graphic that we had, I guess we can put that up here. You can see what we were promoting here. So this is it here. There's our little moving graphic. And so you can see there's fish there and flax oil and eggs and walnuts and what else is there? Chia seed, avocado, this type of thing. So these are your omega-3s, and some have more omega-3s than others. And so we're going to just share with you the best one that has the highest omega-3, and you might guess it already. It's fish oil. So it's, and in particular, fatty fish like eating salmon and or taking cod liver oil.
Right.
And according to our results, Jody, I know that I have to do more cod liver oil. I'm not quite at the level we want to be, even though we eat salmon.
Right. And we could probably do a better job of eating more fish. I think for sure we eat it once a week, maybe twice a week if we go out. And then, of course, we never know what kind we're getting when we go out. We never know what kind of oil is on our salads. That's probably because I can't figure out why our omega-6 is not better than it should be. But I think it's because we do eat out once a week, and we eat salad and salmon usually when we go out.
Yep.
But that oil is
you don't know what the oil is in the restaurant.
Not great.
Right? Yeah. So anyway, we got this from the magazine that if you have Life Extension Magazine, this is it here from March of 22. And the article is Omega-3s Increase Human Lifespan. How do you like that? And it increases it to a great degree, as a matter of fact, almost 5 years just from doing omega-3s. How about that? That's pretty good. So we're going to start talking about this tonight. So first of all, omega-3s versus omega-6s. So as we mentioned, yes, the omega-6s are the bad ones. You want more omega-3s. Now, because they're are so many bad omega-6 oils out there. You're never going to have a 1-to-1 ratio. In fact, the optimal ratio is 3 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. So 3 to 1, that's what you want. So,
omega-6 is more of than 3s.
Yep, because you're never going to get more omega-3 than you have omega-6s.
Yeah, that's not a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Well, guess what?
Sometimes we go overboard on the 6s.
And the average American that's going to like the fast food restaurants and things like that, and eating the crap, that we don't do, and you don't do this either, but the people who do that can have up to a 50-to-1 ratio. So that's really bad. And so what does that do to the body? Well, of course, we're going to explain what that does tonight. So that when we talk to you about our Biologic Blueprint program, when we do our 6 or our 12 week, and there's some more options coming soon, we're revamping the whole thing. We've got new videos coming, all kinds of exciting stuff. So anyway, when we do that for you, it's still, there's still some foundational stuff that everybody needs to understand. Number one, I tell everybody sugar equals pain. If you're having any kind of pain, reduce your sugars. Okay, so now people go, okay, I'll reduce my sugars, but okay, I'm not even doing any kind of sugars. I'm not even doing anything that converts to sugar. Like I'm not doing any potatoes or bread or rice or anything. My sugars are still high, and I'm not even doing too much protein, which can also bump up your sugars. Some people just have a propensity to have high sugars. So what are you going to do? Well, the body has two fuels, right? Remember, I always explain this to folks, and if I've ever explained it to you, you'll remember this, that the body is like a hybrid car, like a Prius or some other kind of hybrid. It runs on electricity and gas, right? So it has two fuels. Your body has two fuels, fat and sugar. So to reduce the sugar, do you think that maybe logically, and that's the way we do things here, logically, right? Is that maybe if you increase the fats, would that reduce the sugar?
Yep.
Omega-3s actually have a pretty magical way of doing that. So we're going to share how that is tonight. So this is interesting in itself. This is that graphic that I wanted to bring up about that first fact, a 2021 study. So this is brand new. This is not some old research that's been debunked or something like that. It's a brand new study. Found that higher omega-3 blood levels are associated with an increase in life expectancy of 4.7 years. Well, that's a lot. And then there's another one here too. Having the highest omega-3 blood levels compared to the lowest in another study was associated with a 34% lower risk of death from any cause.
Wow.
So that tells you that, okay, well, wait a minute. How come these are associated with so many things? I mean, that's pretty incredible. So you're going to see later on in this presentation how there was a test done with the erythrocytes. So erythrocytes, you might remember this from, if you've done a blood panel with us, there's this reading called ESR, the erythrocyte sedimentation rate. And I explain that to people like it's a drone, right? So the erythrocyte, the drone, is your red blood cell. Erythrocyte is a fancy word for a red blood cell. And if it doesn't have energy, it kind of comes down to the ground. It comes crashing down to the ground. So this study that was done with erythrocytes, or red blood cells, was measuring the level of omega-3 in the red blood cells and how important that is. So that's going to be very interesting to see. So that's why it's so important, because there's red blood cells all over your body, right? So that's why increasing something good in there, like omega-3s, can have an effect on all-cause mortality, on everything, because there's red blood cells all over your body, and of course they have a factor in every type of disease, right? Whether you're going to succumb to it or beat it. All right, so the problem is this. So the two most important omega-3 fatty acids, DHA, EPA, are found primarily in fish oil.
Right.
Okay, so we're not getting enough of that, number one. Number two, in the modern Western diet, we have heavy beef. Now, beef is good for some things, but not when we're talking about omega-3s. Beef, pork, and poultry, extremely low in omega-3s. So if you want more, you got to lean on the fish a little more, right?
Right.
Not on the flax. The flaxseed is okay, but the fish oil is so much better. And of course, if you don't want to do just fish oil, eat the fish. And at the same time, our diets are very high in omega-6 fatty acids, which you mentioned, right? Which are found in many processed foods. So basically, if anything is, put it this way, if you want to have omega-3s versus omega-6s, shop the edges of the grocery store, like people always say, right? You go around the edges, the stuff in the middle that's boxed and canned, that's where your omega-6s are. Omega-3s around the edge, omega-6s in the processed foods. And an excess of omega-6 oils increases chronic inflammation throughout the body, accelerates the development of atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries,
Right.
and elevates your risk for blood clots. Heard a lot about that in the last couple of years, haven't we? And increases the risk for obesity. You know, one of these days we're just going to have to come out and say some of the stuff about the last couple of years, because all these studies are coming out now going, oh, look what we found. Like major journals, major medical journals are saying, oh, there were blood clots all along from that jab. Oh, thanks for telling us now, after how many millions of people around the world risk their health and their lives doing this stupid thing. You could have told us this a year ago.
Right.
Anyway, so the solution is eat more fish, okay? So that is where we're going with this. Omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil and or regular consumption of cold water fish, i.e. salmon or tuna even,
Yes.
can help counter this omega-6 fatty acid excess. So how about that? Isn't that great? Now here's what you need to know. This is directly scanned from that magazine article I showed you. So here's some things we're going to talk about, and other things we've already talked about, things to keep in mind about omega-3s. Omega-3s promote a longer, healthier life. Here's how. The fish oil-derived omega-3 fatty acids, DHA and EPA, are vital nutrients that impact many aspects of health. Higher blood levels of omega-3 fatty acids are associated with improved brain and cardiovascular health. We're getting into both of those tonight, along with reductions in chronic inflammation, which is associated with all kinds of bad things. And recently published analyses, that means more than one analysis, from the Framingham Heart Study offspring cohort found links between omega-3 levels and longevity. And these reports show that the highest levels of omega-3 fatty acids compared with the lowest were associated with a 34% lower risk of dying from any cause, which we just talked about, and with increases in life expectancy up to 5 years. And we talked about that, 4.7 years to be exact, right? So the highest levels of omega-3s in the blood were also associated with, now get that into your mind, the highest levels of omega-3s were also associated with a 39% lower rate of developing cardiovascular disease. So it kind of sounds like here like you can't have too much of a good thing.
I know.
When it comes to omega-3s. It's sort of like when we talk about alkaline water and alkalinity, and some people say, yeah, but if you overdo it on that kind of thing, can't you get into alkalosis, like being too high in alkalinity? Yes, but like omega-6s, there's so much acidity on the other side of things in our world due to food and water and the air we breathe and the cell phones we have and the lights we sit under and the stress we just normally have from working at a desk and all that kind of thing. All that is associated with acid. So you can really never get too much alkalinity.
So what about your cholesterol levels versus the omega-3s, omega-6s? Is one the HDL, one the LDL? Do they equate to each other?
We're actually going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
And it's more associated with the, like you've heard that, okay, so number one, we talk about how, that's a good question, because HDL, LDL, there's no good cholesterol or bad cholesterol. Those names are...
Throw them out.
They're bad. They're stupid. Just throw them out. So because... Here's how I describe it to people, and if you've heard me describe it this way, forgive me, but this really helps people understand. So let's say that your erythrocytes, what are erythrocytes? Red blood cells, right? Okay, so red blood cells are like an airport. Every single red blood cell is like an airport. You have planes coming in and planes leaving. The planes coming in, landing, think of it with an L, are LDL, okay? The quote-unquote bad cholesterol, or what you used to know as bad cholesterol, no longer. It is now a landing plane. And the planes going out high, taking off, are the HDL. So you've got LDL coming into the cell, bringing nutrients, and the HDL kind of cleans things up and takes it back to the liver for processing. So it's like a very busy airport, things coming in and things taking off, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, now the problem only comes with what we're going to talk about tonight is, to your point, is there LDL, HDLs or correlation? Yes, when it comes to VLDL. Okay, so let's say that you don't have enough HDL, which is the problem most people have, right?
Right.
You got planes coming in, you don't have enough taking off, and you're getting a traffic jam at your airport, i.e. your red blood cells. Now, if you had a whole bunch of planes landing in the airport, nothing taking off, and they sat there under the rain, under the weather for years and years, what would happen to those planes?
They rust.
They would rust. They would oxidize, right? Which is literally what rust is. So that's the bad cholesterol, if there is a bad cholesterol. It's the VLDL, the very low density lipoproteins. It's oxidized LDL. It's the oxidized planes that have come in, they're not taking off, and they're sitting there rusting and basically creating very dense lipoprotein, very low density lipoprotein. That's the bad stuff. That's what we don't want.
So if you have a high VLDL, which we do measure on our blood tests,
cardiovascular disease,
that is
heart,
not a good thing. That's
right,
your
cancer.
basically your oxidation marker.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't have a very bad one at all. Mine's 12 or 13.
Yeah, and I think the threshold that we look for is 18. You don't want a VLDL. If you look at a recent blood test you've got at home, look at it now. Well, look at it later. Don't look at it now. But look at it later. You don't want higher than 18.
Right.
And if it is, you can turn it around.
And you can figure out what your VLDL is on your blood test if you don't have it on your blood test, because it is your total cholesterol minus your HDL minus your LDL.
And then I think there's a percentage of triglycerides included in there too. So
gives you your VLDL. Yeah. We'll have to get that for sure. Cause
we'll get that next time.
I don't know if triglycerides are involved in that calculation.
In the total, if you're talking about total cholesterol, that is part of the total cholesterol.
No, but I mean to figure out your VLDL.
Oh, VLDL. Yeah, that is. I'm not.
I think it's just your total minus your HDL minus your LDL.
Okay.
Gives you your VLDL. What's left over?
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we were talking about, where were we? Okay, we're talking about sugars, right? We got off on a bit of a rabbit trail there. So we're going to be talking about sugars here. So you're eating more fish, that's one thing. And what you need to know, we read all that. And omega-3s help to reduce sugars. Remember how we talked about in the beginning?
Help with your blood sugar,
yeah. So omega-3s help to reduce sugars. How do they do that? So elevated triglycerides, I'm reading some information over here from the article, which is a diabetes risk, right? Elevated triglycerides, that's something to watch out for. You don't want a high A1C, triglycerides, or glucose, right?
Or insulin.
Or insulin, thank you. Are associated with metabolic disturbances. Elevated triglycerides are associated with metabolic disturbances that increase heart attack and stroke. So you've heard of that, right? Diabetes will, if left untreated, will eventually lead to a heart attack or maybe a stroke. Makes sense because the blood's pumping more vigorously to pump a thicker blood because there's too much sugar in it. You get higher blood pressure, makes a whole lot. This is all very logical, right? If you just break it down and think about it. So omega-3s help to reduce that. So here is how they do that. Fish oil lowers triglycerides and other atherosclerosis-inducing lipoproteins. There's your lipoproteins that we talked about, the bad ones, VLDL, by increasing the clearance of triglyceride-rich lipoproteins from the bloodstream, decreasing the liver's production and secretion of triglyceride-rich lipoproteins, and increasing, so that's basically the LDL coming to your cells, right? And increasing the activity of lipoprotein lipase. Lipase, if you see ASE, that's an enzyme that breaks down whatever is preceding it. So lipase, fat breakdown, which breaks down triglycerides so the body's tissues can use the fatty acids. Now, there's something interesting there as well. When you're losing weight and you're burning fat, you're going to get more triglycerides in your blood. So if you're taking a measurement while you're losing a lot of weight, a lot of fat, and you see an elevated triglyceride, don't be concerned. That's normal, because in order to burn off the fat, what else is the body going to do? It's got to bring that fat into the bloodstream to burn it off. And for that time period, you're going to have elevated triglycerides. Well, big deal. Just deal with it. It'll be gone soon. But what also happens there is you also get elevated LDL, elevated cholesterol, because cholesterol is the vehicle in which fat-soluble nutrients ride around the body, because the body's blood system is water-based. And water and oil or fat don't mix. So you've got to have a vehicle to take it around in that water-based blood system. It's almost like a submarine. I used to call it a taxi, but really it's more like a submarine. So picture the blood like a river, and in order to get something through that river that's not going to mix with it, you've got to put it in the submarine and take it down the river. That's what cholesterol is. LDL and HDL take those things around the body.
Right.
So there you go. I don't know what I was the point I was trying to make by saying that, but anyway. It's an interesting thing to know nonetheless. So it will lower triglycerides. Oh yeah, that was it. So it's going to help to burn off those things. So those LDL has to increase. If your body creates more of the fat soluble nutrients and pushes it into the bloodstream, you got to have a way to carry it around. So LDL's got to come up too. Again, just temporary. Don't worry about it. So what are the atherosclerosis inducing lipoproteins? We talked about this already. We kind of gave it away. It's the small dense LDL particles, very low density lipoproteins, VLDL, and remnant lipoprotein particles, and they're all known to be promoters of atherosclerosis. So, and we actually screen for VLDL during our blood test, right?
Right.
Okay, so.
You can also get a cholesterol panel that will look at the very small dense LDL and measure the LDL.
Okay.
And that's actually what I'm thinking of getting next time. I wanted to get it this time, but I picked the wrong thing. So I can actually measure not only HDL, LDL, VLDL, but even smaller particles to see if you have those very, very small particles, then that's not good. You want them to be medium or large.
And basically it's a particle count. So you can imagine if you've got big marbles and small marbles. So the VLDL are the very low density lipoproteins, the small ones, right? So if you have a lot of those in a small area, well then like a jar, you know you've got a lot of VLDL because there's a lot of small ones in there. If there's only like 5 or 6 in that same space where there used to be 100, well then those are good ones. That's the nice big cholesterol that does not cause a problem. It's the little ones that are the issue makers. So excess sugars are also related to Alzheimer's. As you might know, Alzheimer's is nicknamed diabetes type 3. I couldn't think of that word. But anyway, diabetes type 3. And cod liver oil will also help here too, or any kind of omega-3. Eat the fish or take the fish oil. So check this out. This is from a study mentioned in that article. And it says, the present study, which we are reading about, the present study shows for the first time that short-term FO is what they just use for fish oil supplementation applied in pre-symptomatic stage of Alzheimer's disease. So this is before it gets bad, when you just kind of notice that, you know, grandpa's putting the keys in the sugar bowl or something weird like that. There's maybe something going on here. That's what stage we're talking about here. It alters the behavior of microglia macrophages, sorry, not really familiar with that term, promoting them to establish a physical barrier around amyloid plaques. This barrier significantly suppresses DN's formation. What's a DN? That's dystrophic neurites, which are found in many neurological conditions like traumatic brain injury and age-related dementia. So basically, it prevents these things from forming, is what we're saying.
I swear by the fish oil, that is for sure.
Yep.
And because I, have Hashimoto's and have had it for 15, 18 years, well, more like 20 years now, well, maybe 18, I lose words. And I used to have a real issue with losing words until I started fish oil. And that has really made my brain sharper.
Really, I need to do more fish oil because apparently tonight I'm losing words.
We all lose words.
And, to be honest, my test when I got it back was not really where I wanted it to be. It's not like detrimental, but it's not like, oh, really? I thought it'd be better than that.
I did
One of those things. But then I look back and, okay, I'm not really consistent with the cod liver oil. I'm not doing fish 3 times a week or something like that. So, for these parameters we set for ourselves, and with this test, they want you at 8%. And mine was not 8%, it was lower than that. But some people are. You saw results from 2 people today that were over 8%.
2 people. Actually, one was at 9%. I mean,
Wow.
That is really hard to do. I really want that person to write down everything that they do, food-wise and supplementation-wise, because I'd like to see a day in the life of how they live, to see how they got that to 9%. Their omega-3s were in range, their omega-6s were in range, and their trans fats were in range. Now, our trans fats are both in range, but our omega-3s and omega-6s could use some help balancing out.
Not terrible, but
I get it. We don't probably eat any trans fats at all.
Right. We're very careful about that.
But I'm sort of upset because our omega-6s are a little high. Where are we getting those from?
I don't know, but I just know that see, we just heard tonight that you need to increase the omega-3s to reduce the omega-6s. So we're just not doing enough omega-3s, I think is what it is. Now, something, Jody, you've gone through, and many, many other women, any woman who's had a child has had the risk of, well, you've definitely had pregnancy and you've had childbirth, and you've had the risk of postpartum depression.
True.
So there was a study done on pregnant women just to sort of try and prevent postpartum depression. And they thought, if omega-3s help with the brain with Alzheimer's, would they also help with the brain with depression? So Alzheimer's, depression, ADHD, anxiety, even headaches, all these type of things, brain fog, they're all related.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they would think this way and think, I wonder if the omega-3s help. Well, let's see if they did. Check this out. In a 2020 study, again, fairly recent, pregnant women who are at risk for postpartum depression, I don't know of any men who are at risk for postpartum depression because they don't get postpartum.
Well, nowadays.
Yeah, who knows, right? Okay. Were randomized to take either omega-3 fatty acids or a placebo. If you're not familiar with the word placebo just means like a what they used to call a sugar pill. They give you something to make you think you're taking something, but there's nothing in it. So they're trying to see if maybe it's just your brain tricking your body into doing something, or if it's actually the medication or the supplement they're trying to feed people in the study. And then they compare the two. It's what they call a double-blind placebo-controlled study. And those taking the fish oil saw a decrease in symptoms of depression, while no change was observed in the placebo group. So that's important. That proved, because they didn't tell everybody what they're taking. They just gave them something that looked very similar.
Yep.
And nobody knew, nobody was the wiser. But the people running the study knew who was taking what. And so that way there's no way to, think yourself into, getting well or something like that. So this was truly a good result on that one for the fish oil. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Helps with postpartum depression. Isn't that a wonderful thing? Now, the importance of testing. We want to say that, you don't know unless you test, right? We always say that all the time. And we always say with Laird Wellness, our mantra is make your health make sense. And you can't make sense of your health if you're guessing. So don't guess, test. That's the only way you're going to know. Okay? That's why we really harp on the blood test. That's why we really harp on the questionnaire that we do and all that type of thing. And so it's just, you got to look at what you're doing. You can't assume anything. I hate assuming. I hate assuming. So that Jody just knows that about me. I say, don't assume anything. And she's like, well, you can assume some things. Come on. But anyway, so the importance of testing. We do need to test when it comes to this type of thing. So here is what we're looking for when we test. So ideally, in the yellow, your omega-3 index score should be greater than 6.8. And as you mentioned, Jody, you have people who are 8 and 9.
9, yeah.
So they were rock stars when it came to this. And just skip down to the bottom there. We talked about most of the stuff in the middle. The typical Japanese omega-3 index in Japan is greater than 8%. And that may correlate with a 5-year longer life expectancy in Japan. Why? Because that culture typically eats a lot of fish. There you go.
Excellent.
Yep, isn't that great?
We need to eat more fish.
Yes, unfortunately, that usually comes in the form of a sushi when I think of Japanese food, and there's all that sticky rice in there that that'll jack your sugars. That I need more omega-3s to bring them down, according to what we've talked about tonight. So, anyway. So that's the importance of testing. Now, I think we had a graphic here. Oh, we do. Of somebody's result. So here we go. We've blocked out the name and everything, so you can't tell. But this is an actual test report that you get from Omega Quant. Now, you don't get this through Laird Wellness, but we can help you get this. In fact, we're going to show you the website from which you get it. It's easy. You can guess it right now. It's omegaquant.com. In fact, there it is on the top right corner, the website along with their address. So this person had a 5.49, not 6.8. I always thought it had to be 8. And that's what Omega Quant, I think, says too. You can tell that their green line starts at 8.
Right.
So
just like we measure things and we say, here's the range, but optimal is this.
Right.
Same thing.
So, yeah. So the Life Extension article was working off of standard medical ranges. This is, you're right, more like what we do. This is a wellness range. Standard medical is one thing, wellness is another. So this is a wellness desire. They want you to be at 8. So I was at 5.49. Just gave it away who this was. This was me. Darn it. I was trying to keep that secret. Anyway, this was me. 5.49. So it's not great. But anyway, so I wanted to be at 8.
And we thought it was good until we saw the 2 other people show us theirs, and we're like, dang.
Yeah, I know, right? And it's like, oh, man, and we're supposed to be teaching this stuff. So I mean, we need to be doing more cod liver oil. That's a good thing for us to learn.
I am pretty good at cod liver oil. I am not consistent with fish several times a week. And yeah, we need to get more fish.
Yep, that's right. Well, I had salmon today on my salad.
So did I.
Smoked salmon. Smoked Atlantic wild salmon. Now that's the other thing. Let's talk about that for a minute. You do not want to do farmed fish because farmed fish is fed soy pellets in a controlled environment, and they can call it, they can call it wild, but sometimes it's not. But usually when it's farmed, it'll say farmed. Yeah. And that just means they're kept in a corral type of thing, and it's a bunch of fish all jumping up on top of each other.
You can still get your omega-3s because at the end of this report, it tells you the best sources, and farmed salmon is one of the best sources, even though it's farmed.
Huh.
It still has a good omega-3.
I'd rather just go for the wild.
Me too,
personally.
But
anyway, so here's where if you go on the Omega Quant website, you go on their website and you just search tests, and you'll see that there's ones for omega-3. And this is the one that we did. Omega-3 index. It was a basic test, $49.95. It was very simple, just a pin prick. It wasn't like you had to go to, LabCorp and get a bunch of blood drawn.
It's a home test.
It's a home test, and you blot it, and you just put it on this little piece of cardboard, and you send it in.
But wait, you can get 10% off. Did you let everybody know the coupon code?
For the 10% off?
Yes.
Oh, I did not. What is the coupon code?
Well,
do tell.
I think it's Dr. Carter 10.
Oh.
But it's capital D, little r, capital C, Carter. So capital C, Carter 10, all put together. But the D and the C are
capital.
Capital.
And you have to have that for the code to work?
Correct.
Okay.
And you'll get 10% off. And that's what we did. That's how we bought ours.
Okay. So if you missed that or you want to know more about that, you can just go to info@lairdwellness.com and we'll send you the code. So,
yeah.
Simple as that. Now, speaking of codes, we have a deal of our own happening right now. Since cod liver oil is such a good source of vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids.
It does have a little vitamin D in it as well.
It does, and vitamin A. Yep, good stuff. It's less processed than usual fish oil. That's why we harp on the cod liver oil. That's something we learned from Dr. Tom Lewis. I didn't know that before working with him. But now I'm convinced. After listening to him, yes, cod liver oil is the thing. So we take cod liver oil every day, and you think, ew, I hate fish oil. But it doesn't taste like fish. This stuff has lemon in it. All it tastes like is lemon oil. We know a few of the people who have gone through our program who actually put it on their salad as a lemon flavoring. How about that?
And my wilted spinach. I have put it on my wilted spinach before.
And that's good too?
Yeah, lemon and spinach.
See, I would just rather just take it straight. I don't put it on food, but other people do.
I just do just for something to do. But
well, there you go. Well, here's what you can get for something to do. Buy a cod liver oil from lairdwellness.com, and we will give you a free bottle of 50,000 IU vitamin D3. This is the stuff you only have to take once a week, and we're doing it now because summer's over, winter is going to be coming, and you want to have this on your side, both the fish oil and the vitamin D3. Now, this offer is not going to last very long, so if you are watching this later in the week, keep in mind this offer ends Thursday, September 22nd at midnight Eastern time. We will shut it off. It's going to be, in fact, it's already timed to shut off. So it'll just shut off at midnight Eastern time, and that sale will be gone. But for now, you can get, and you don't even have to use a code. You just buy a cod liver oil. We're going to throw in a 50,000 vitamin D3 for free in the package, and away you go.
So basically, nobody has to put a code in. Whoever buys it this week will get a free 50,000.
Exactly. And you can order other stuff too. If you're just getting cod liver oil and other things, you will just get the 50,000 D3 on its own. You don't have to buy just cod liver oil. You can get the other stuff too. So there you have it. Okay, well, thank you for watching tonight.
And you might need it this winter, because that pandemic still may be around.
Or they'll invent another one and throw it at us. You know how that works. Okay, so thank you for watching tonight. And it's a short one, but that's okay. I think we got a lot of information packed in this one, and it's all you need to know. So we will see you next time on Laird Wellness Live. Until then, Shavua Tov. Have a good week.
Take care.